Hey y'all, hey! Welcome back to Black Wolves Confessions with me, Jax. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm a little red. I've been cleaning, so my allergies are kicking my ass. But it's okay. I'm actually dusting today, kind of doing like a spring clean in the middle of summer, but that's okay. It is what it is. But welcome back to Black Wolves Confessions with me. I know I'm posting this late, so I'm sorry, y'all, for those of y'all that have been waiting all morning. But I'm sorry. It's been a crazy 3 weeks. And the way that my schedule was with my kiddos, and then I had to go to the office and things like that, it just did not make room. So I am actually planning on recording an extra episode next time whenever my kids are here, because, well, y'all, I won't have time to do it until Friday, and that's when we're supposed to post, and I want y'all to be able to wake up to it if y'all want to listen to it on the way to work or whatever. So I am so sorry for those of you that do listen to me on the way home, but I'm gonna fix it, I promise. Okay, the next time I have the kids for my 2-week block, that won't happen, I promise. Okay, y'all. So today we're going to talk about love languages and how, like, your love languages 5 years ago might not be the same as your love language today as you change, and then also, like, motherhood changes it, I feel like, personally for me. And so we're going to talk about love languages. So the first thing that I really want to, like, kind of ask you here is, have you ever looked at someone and known without a doubt that they love you, but you still feel lonely? So, and that's a, like, extremely confusing place to be in, because you're just like, okay, why? Right? And then, but because love and feeling loved aren't always the same thing, today we're talking about just how that affects you, right? And, but also why sometimes they just aren't enough, right? Like, because even though, like, your love languages might be being fulfilled, doesn't mean that it's enough sometimes, depending on the person, right? So I'm going to tell you what all the love languages are. I also, actually, give me a second. I want to make sure that I have this info. Languages for so the normal love languages, okay? So that's what we're going to start with first, okay? So it's obviously words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch, okay? These are not, like, this is just helpful framework. It's not a rule book though, right? Okay. So, like, words of affirmation is like basically being told, oh my God, you did such a great job today at work, or even at home, or whatever, right? Like, it doesn't have to be anything big or crazy or anything like that. It's just, hey, you did a good job today. Some people thrive on that, right? Acts of service is, you could tell I am tired as fuck. I don't want to do the dishes, but you go and do them for me, right? That's acts of service. That's just one example, right? Receiving gifts, that's fucking, it's a receiving gift, right? People actually really don't feel loved unless they have gifts coming in from their loved ones, right? Quality time, literally us actually spending time together, having a good conversation, things like that, right? Physical touch, whether that's holding hands, hugging, holding each other, whatever, right? So this is where I feel like a lot of people, what they do is that they start loving someone their way, like your own way, right? So I love someone my way, what I feel like my love language is, right? But in reality, this is where the hard part is because you might not be receiving your love language. So now you're doing it to the person that you want from that, right? And so they will, but they're not getting their love language, right? Because your love language and their love language may not be the same. So you're over here doing this and giving them your love language, right? Over and over and over again. But that's not working, right? This is where a lot of relationships I feel like fail because they're not realizing each other's love languages. And so therefore, it's making it to where they're not both fulfilled in the relationships. And this is why that relationship ends up failing, right? And so, like, sometimes someone's not even capable of giving you your love language at the moment because they're either working overtime, kids, stress, mental health, exhaustion, right? And then that's another thing, like, especially if you don't have a person that's actually willing, right? Willing to work with you and understand the fact that you're just in a slump right now, right? And that could really be a fucking problem in a lot of relationships. And I feel like a lot of people don't honestly realize that this is what happens a lot of the times, right? But sometimes intentions don't become actions. So like, even though like your intention is to like give them their love language, sometimes it doesn't happen because of the stress and because of the work or because of the kids or your mental health isn't great, right? Your intention doesn't matter if it doesn't become an action, but sometimes there are valid excuses. Like, mental health is a fucking real thing, and you will not be able to be capable of giving love if you can't even like figure your shit out, right? Also, like I said in the like earlier, love languages aren't always fixed either. So like, I know there was a time that my love language was just really honestly mostly physical touch and words of affirmation. Now I feel like acts of service and a physical touch and words of affirmation are my freaking love language, but acts of service is probably higher now, to be honest, because I'm always so tired, right? Because now I'm a mom. And so like that's the thing too, is like whenever you become a mom, physical touch for most, okay, I'm not going to talk for everybody, just everybody that I have talked to that has become a mom, especially breastfeeding mamas, which I was one for both of my kiddos. Physical touch was not my thing after that, like not for a little while, especially while I was breastfeeding. Like, I had a baby on me 24/7 pretty much, right? Like, I didn't need any physical touch. I was getting plenty of it for my child. I know that it's not the same. It's not a romantic physical touch, and I get that, I understand that, but during that time, whenever you're going through that in motherhood, like, your body doesn't really, I'm not going to say that it doesn't know the difference, because obviously it does, but I'm saying like it doesn't need that extra physical touch because of the fact that you're getting all this physical touch from your child, right? And so like, my love language 10 years ago is not the same as it is today. Like, it just isn't. Since I've had my son, no, it's not. Okay. So what made you feel loved 5 years ago? That's my question to you, my audience. Please comment below, y'all. I really need y'all to start commenting. And then, is that still true to today? Like, 5 years ago, what was your love language? And do you feel like your love language changed now 5 years later? That's what I want to know, okay? But literally, life experiences can seriously shift what we need as a person day to day, right? Because like, instead of you saying, because communication matters, okay? I'm going to start with that first. Communication really does matter, because as you grow as a person and you're with the same person, right? Especially if you're in a long-term ass fucking relationship that you've been with for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, right? If you're not communicating and saying, hey, that's not how I receive love anymore. I'm not feeling the love right now, or whatever, right? So if you're not doing that, and then you're saying it's like, you never love me, that's not reality, right? They're showing you the love that worked all those years ago. It just doesn't work today, right? So instead of saying you never loved me, say I really been missing quality time with you lately, or I'm really missing the physical touch aspect from you lately, right? That's more specific and gives your partner something that they can respond to, instead of sitting here like, you never loved me. What kind of fucked up fuckery shit is that, right? It isn't gonna work. So this is also another thing too. Love language doesn't fix everything. This is an important point, that love languages won't solve, okay, lack of respect. They don't respect you. It doesn't matter how much they're doing acts of service and all of that stuff if they're not respecting you like on a normal basis. Even if they're doing these acts of service or physical touch or whatever, doesn't mean shit, okay? Broken trust. So your partner cheated on you, or, you know, what else? You know, just isn't coming home when they're saying they're going to come home, whatever it is, right? Poor communication, that's self-explanatory. Emotional abuse, and then constant conflicts. If you're constantly arguing, but yet like when y'all go to bed, that's whenever y'all give each other physical touch because that's y'all's love languages, like, that's not gonna fucking fix anything. It might make you feel good in that moment, but what is that gonna do? You're just gonna keep building resentment, right? But they are a tool, not the whole relationship. So if you know this, and you know what your love languages are and what your partner's love languages are, it's going to really help you thrive in that, right? And then I want you to ask someone you love, right? What makes you feel the most loved lately? Like, and the word lately matters because the answer might be different than it used to be, right? Because, again, communication, right? We're going back to the communication. Communication is off, and you're not communicating this, and you're not asking this. What makes you feel most loved lately? How the fuck is that going to actually fix anything, right? It's not. So, I'm looking at something really quick because I'm also going to do this on the flip side, right? ADHD love languages, because this matters too. If you are non-divergent, am I saying that word right? I feel like I might not be. But if you are not ADHD or autistic or anything like that, you're not going to understand this, okay? However, it is important for you to understand this if you're dating someone that has ADHD or is autistic or anything like that, right? But I did want to talk about that because this really does matter too. And I actually just learned about this, and whenever I listened to this made more sense to me than fucking the actual love languages. I am ADHD. So for me, these are my love languages. And honestly, I'm all of them. Just some outweigh more, right? So body doubling. So it's just being with them while they're doing tasks. You don't have to help. Your presence makes it easier to get things done. Literally. I love this. My house is never cleaner than whenever I'm body doubling. If I'm doing it on my own, I'm just doing the bare fucking minimum. I'm just doing enough so that my house doesn't stink. But if you want it to be spotless and dusting and all of that, just sit with me. Hand me shit occasionally. Things like, I like being, because that's the acts of service part, right? Because that's one of my love languages. Like, please kind of help me a little bit, but I don't need your help. Just your presence alone is helping me, right? Parallel play. So this is really interesting because I've never really heard it in this wording or this title, right? But it's spending time together while each person does their own activity like reading, gaming, crafting without needing constant interaction. So it's literally, I'm sitting here doing my podcast, and let's say my partner's here, he's playing video games, that suffices for me. Right? It's really actually kind of cool because you're still spending time. We're still in the same room, but we're not really interacting. Like maybe, like my partner and I, we like to like, we have poking wars, right? And like we might like occasionally poke each other or something like that, right? Or kiss each other or whatever. Because again, physical touch, right? But it's not constantly. Like I don't need it constantly. This is literally just parallel play. And it's fucking awesome. Okay. Info dumping. Okay. It is letting them excitedly talk about their latest hyperfixation and generally listening. So this means, okay, so if you've dated an ADHD or you are an ADHDer or autistic even, because I feel like that also follows through, not nearly as much as an ADHDer, though I will say this. We go through these stages where we're like, oh my God, I want to craft, I want to make cups, I want to make this, I want to make that. You don't know how much crafting shit I have, and now I don't do them. Okay? Do I want to do them again? Probably. Will I? I don't know. You know what I mean? So just actually info dumping, letting them talk about what they're excited about. Like, I remember whenever I was talking about this podcast, okay? And my partner literally just sat there and listened to me. He was like, okay, but what are the topics going to be? What are this going to be? Like, how are you going to do this? Blah, 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 blah. Like, he was actually genuinely asking questions and listening and allowing me to be excited and pumping me up and be like, oh my God, this would be really cool if you do it this way, blah, 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 right? That is what that is, okay? Excessive function support or task initiation, okay? It's kind of a double whammy. It's helping them start or organize overwhelming tasks without judgment. Okay. I've had help over the years so many freaking times where I have a friend come over to my house because my closet has been a dump place, right? That's probably the worst place every time for me is my closet, okay? Or my bedroom for whatever reason. And just they start helping with the organization so I'm not overwhelmed. So for me, seeing a space that's super cluttered and I don't know where to start. I really don't. And so for me, this really, really, really helps. And I honestly think that this is probably one of my top tier love languages, especially whenever my house is really cluttered. Like, my shit literally changes on a daily depending on what is going on in my house that day. I will tell you that. So, like, right now, my house is pretty cluttered. I need a double bottling, and I also need a task initiator because I can't do it. Right? But also not judging while helping me. Like saying, God, Jackie, how did you let it get this bad or anything like that? I'm going to instantly shut down and I'm not going to want to do it and you're just going to go and I'll do this another day. Right? That's literally what's going to happen there. Also, reminder without shame. So gentle reminders and understanding instead of criticism when they forget something. Look, I'm a very forgetful person. I remember a lot, but I'm also going to forget, right? Like, could be easily like, hey, I was finishing going to the bathroom, but you asked me to make you dinner, but I'm not hungry right now. So you just gently reminding me, hey, can you still make that dinner? As an ADHDer though, I also always forget to eat. I'm never really hungry very often. When I am hungry, I'm surprised. I have to force myself to eat majority of the time. Okay. Then low demand presence, simply existing together without pressure to talk or perform, which I feel like is also kind of similar to parallel play in a way. In my head, I feel like those are 2 and 2, but for some people, like they don't even really want to do the parallel playing, though. They just want to exist. Day-to-day operations, things like that. It's more of like a, what you call it, it's more like a situational ship, right? In my opinion. But I feel like this is something that's really a good information for people to have, because I do think that like it really is different. Because yes, these love languages are a really good guide, like the normal love languages are a really good guide, because for most people that does make sense, right? It does. But for us ADHDers, not saying that some of these things are not something that I appreciate, I guess. Like, I do appreciate the physical touch. I do appreciate the acts of service. But it has to be done a certain way for me to actually fully appreciate it and actually feel loved, right? If you're constantly judging me while you're doing these, like, little reminders or whatever, right? What the fuck is that going to do? If you're constantly bashing me or telling me, hey, how did you let this house get this way, or whatever it might be, right? I'm just using the house as an example. That's what I've been doing this whole time, right? Things like that, like, that makes it really, really hard to actually feel loved by that person. It makes you more feel judged by that person, right? That's the thing. That's what I mean by that, okay? Hold on, I'm gonna get back, make sure I didn't miss anything. But I do want to ask a couple questions, okay? What helps you feel loved today? That's one thing, okay? Because I think that that is something if you're in a relationship and you're not asking, like, hey, what makes you feel loved today? Or, hey, can I do anything better for you? Is there something that you might need from me that makes you feel loved by me? I kind of feel a little disconnected. What's going on? Things like that. Like, I'm telling you, your relationship is going to fail, or it's just going to be stagnant, and you're never going to be happy. Period. And so, like, I think that that's like a really, really, really big deal to deal with, because I don't think that people fully comprehend that. And so, going back to the ADHD parts too, like, whenever you have an ADHD partner, whether you both are, or they are, like, your traditional 5 love languages, or these ADHD specific ideas, like, whichever one you end up using for your relationship is really gonna matter, because you have to understand each other, right? You have to understand each other, because if you don't, that's never going to fucking work. If you think that your typical 5 love languages work better in your relationship, then go ahead, use that. But for me, it's going to be the ADHD love languages for me. Like, that's what's going to work for me. I'm not going to... I feel like the 5 love languages for me specifically is just putting a band-aid on. Where if you are following these love languages for ADHDers, for me specifically, it's, oh my God, you fucking understand me. Thank you, Jesus. Right? So, with that being said, okay, I'm trying to figure out where I've done. I think that's it. I don't really have anything else to say. Please like, follow, comment, repost, share, whatever, depending on where you're seeing this. I really appreciate y'all joining. Again, I am so sorry that this is late. I am going to plan better for the next time that I have my kiddos. And I am so sorry, y'all. I really am. I'm so sorry. But thanks for joining me. I guess that's it. Talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.